Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Single No More. How to feel confident that you can meet and keep your Mr. Right this year. And we say feel confident because we are here to give you the tools that empower you to have success in your dating life. We know that we can't control anybody else, but we can control ourselves. So we are giving you these tools and all the people who can help you make sure that you meet your Mr. Right this year. And it is within your power and things that you can implement today. So my guest today is Erika Ettin, who is the founder of A Little Nudge, which I absolutely love that name. It's a consulting company that helps people navigate the online dating world, which we haven't really gotten into much here. So I'm super excited about this. And this is basically, she does it from first click to first date. It's almost like the online matchmaking. I absolutely love it. She's also the author of the book Love at First Sight, spelled S-I-T-E, how clever, and the co-host of the popular dating podcast, So We Met Online. Now, Erika studied economics at Cornell University and also received her MBA from Georgetown. And she started A Little Nudge in 2011, pretty much after a 7-year career as an economist. So really interested to hear her story on that. And she's responsible for many relationships, marriages, and the confidence some people simply need to get out there, hence A Little Nudge. Love it. And it's been featured, A Little Nudge has been featured in media all around the country. New York Times, the Washington Post, NPR, Good Day Philadelphia, CBS, and Ask Men, and currently writes a weekly syndicated dating column. Girl, I don't even know how you have time to do all this, but this just sounds amazing. Welcome, welcome. So happy to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh. So let's just get into the whole story. So
All right.
what went from I'm an economist to I want to help people find love and
I know.
online dating space? Like, catch us up.
What a weird career trajectory, right?
We pretty much all go corporate to non-corporate at some point, but you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I certainly didn't study online dating 101 in school. So, yeah, I still love math and spreadsheets and all that, but I was a really early adopter of online dating personally. I started in 2001. Let's think back to 2001. Nobody did online dating in 2001.
So true. And my cousin actually met her husband online probably around that same time because she said it was so good in the early days.
Well, there was no one on there, so you had your pick of the litter. So,
right, pretty much.
I mean, I still remember at the time my parents were concerned I, was gonna meet a crazy person because nobody knew what this newfangled thing was about. Of course, years later, they're like, "We'll pay for your membership." Anyway, so I did it on and off for a number of years. I always thought it was a great way to meet people. It's just another tool.
Yeah.
And then, partially because of my background in economics and partially just my personality, I combined two things I liked: online dating and spreadsheets. So I actually started the spreadsheet initially so I wouldn't accidentally write to the same person twice. So I kept a list of all the screen names I had written to.
Very smart.
And I was a big proponent, and still am, of everybody reaching out, male, female, so I was sending a lot of, first messages. And then, okay, here's where the nerdy side comes in. I said to myself, oh my gosh, I can measure things in this spreadsheet. So what's my response rate? I'm writing, what percentage of men write back to me? And then what's my conversion rate of the ones who write back? What percent do I go on a date with? And I would make little tweaks here and there to see what worked and what didn't. Like, for example, ending a message with a question will always get a higher response rate. In general, shorter profiles get more views, things like that. And I got to the point where my friends were like, what are you doing that we're not? Can you help us? And so on the one hand, I was working in finance and just hating cubicle life. And on the other, I was loving helping friends with online dating. So almost 9 years ago, I took a big leap, quit my job, and started A Little Nudge.
I love it. That is such a good story. As you were saying it, I thought, well, you're an economist, so you're a numbers person. So clearly online dating would totally work because
yes.
Is it true? Is it a numbers game?
It is 100%. So I talk with my hands, so let me make sure you can see.
I know.
It is definitely a numbers game. I mean, I always say the more people you go out with, the higher the probability you're going to connect with one of them. So if you're going to connect with one out of every X number of people, you got to get to that X at some point. So not EX, you know what I mean. So yes, it is completely a numbers game.
Now, what about those people that always go, you know, if you're putting yourself out there to a lot of people to try to get the numbers up, then you're also potentially feeling a lot of rejection.
You
So,
are.
yeah.
Nobody can prevent that, unfortunately.
Mhm.
Like, it's interesting. I just started saying within the last few months to my clients, I mean, kind of facetiously, but not, I always say, I can't guarantee anything except my hard work and that we're going to be putting your best foot forward. Obviously, no one can control chemistry or the longevity of a relationship. But I
Mhm.
do say, I can guarantee you're going to go on bad dates. I can also guarantee you're going to go on great dates, right? That is part of the process because everyone always says, I prefer quality over quantity, of course. But I do
Mhm.
believe that quantity can lead to quality, but you have to go through some of those experiences, positive and negative, to get to what you're looking for.
Yeah, when you're saying quality versus quantity, I could see me. I would be one that would like choose 5 people that I really like, and I'd probably put my all into those messages.
Right. And then if they don't answer, where are you?
Right.
I would rather you cast a wider net, open as many doors as possible, decide, I mean, not extreme, like not people who you would never be compatible with, but open your doors and then decide when to close them.
So is this where you come in with a little nudge where, like, let's say I'm a client and I come to you, do you pretty
Hmm.
much like handle my dating profile and cast all those nets for me and just let me know when I have a date?
For some people, yes. So
Okay.
that would be if you were a platinum
That's the
client.
premium,
Uh,
right? Thank
so I
you.
mean,
I'll
it's
take it.
it it starts with me helping you market yourself because
Okay.
you've seen profiles. I mean, we've all seen profiles where it could be a wonderful person, but all we're seeing is terrible selfies and a bunch of generic words. I'm positive, loyal, and adventurous, blah. That means nothing to anybody, right? So, or worse, no profile at all. So,
Mm,
first, it's making sure you're marketing yourself well, both through your profile and, I hate to say it, but more importantly, your pictures.
mm,
So, I guide a lot of people through the process of what do you write in the profile. For all of my clients, I delve into specifics. In fact, I was just meeting with a client right before this, and she's like, I love to cook. And I said, well, that's great. What's your specialty? I don't know. And I
ah,
said, even though it's probably not relevant in life, I want specifics here because it's very different. You could say I love to cook in the profile, and that's fine and good. But if you say, I make my Italian grandmother's lasagna recipe, like that's
mm.
one, it makes people hungry, which hey, but it's more specific and it gives people what I call message bait, which is something to latch on to. They can ask a question about it. They feel brilliant that they've asked a relevant question, but really you're brilliant because you planted it there.
Ah,
So I help clients with that message bait, both through the profile and the pictures. Like I always, for example, recommend photo of you doing something interesting,
mm,
whatever that means to you. So, for example, let's say you do public speaking of some sort. Even this, like, let's say we took a screenshot of the screen right now.
mhm.
You can say, "Oh, I was doing an interview." So anything that might generate some questions.
Right.
So that's the first thing I do.
Mm,
And then, like you asked, for other people who need a little more hand holding or a little nudge, if you will, yes, I do the selecting. I do cast that net. I do send messages on people's behalf, which is always interesting. You know, um, for some people, if they're weighing the costs and benefits of don't do online dating at all versus have somebody else kind of do the legwork for me, they'll
mm.
choose have someone else do the legwork for me. And then yes, I say show up at this wine bar next Tuesday, enjoy yourself, let me know how it goes.
Oh my gosh, that's perfect. I love it. So my question was going to be, yeah, what are the common mistakes people make? But it sounds like one of the biggest one is just being too general, almost just not being specific enough. Maybe you're not
Yeah,
differentiating yourself. Is that true?
being generic, um, having too many pictures. So Match.com, do you know how many pictures they allow? It's crazy.
20.
26. Really
Wow.
close.
Oh my goodness.
Nobody should be posting 26 pictures. That is ludicrous. Like no one needs to see your entire travel album from Greece, even though I'm sure it was lovely. I like feta cheese as much as the next person,
Yeah.
um, but I always recommend 5 pictures total. That's it, 5. Why 5? Because any fewer than 5, people are like, well, what is this person not showing? But any more than that, there's too much opportunity to find one picture you don't like and then dismiss the person because of it. So 5 is kind of the sweet spot. And then in terms of profiles too, don't write a novel. No one has time for that. They had a long day of work and they don't want to read your novel. That also comes off as a little self-indulgent. So use your best judgment on a nice length that's bite size enough for people to actually read. So yeah, a big mistake is people overshare. So I would definitely recommend not oversharing.
Got it. Super interesting. What about professional pics? Do you ever recommend people putting up professional photos? Or sometimes I know people go, oh, I don't want to look like I'm trying too hard, but I'm like, but show who you really are and can be. You're making your first impression, make it a good one. And then I always say, like, you know, people will love you for your flaws once they get to know you. But at the same time, put out, you know, you don't show up to an interview scrubby, you know?
Exactly. So I mean, if
Put on your
you
best.
have a lot, if you have a lot of current pictures that are great, then I don't recommend professional photography. But let's say you were in a relationship for 30 years and all of your pictures are of you with that partner, or of you with your kids, or of you with your whatever it is. You need some recent pictures. I always say nobody cares if you paid for them if you look good. So
True.
that said, I don't recommend only professional pictures because then it does look too staged and people will assume that's your best day and then have to wonder what's not your best day. So I recommend 2 or 3 of the professional pictures and then the rest candid, probably 2 in 2 different outfits, and then the rest candid pictures. You do want to make sure you have a full body in there because when people don't have information, they make up information. So so if you don't show your full body, they just like make a guess as to what you look like, and it's usually not a positive guess. So yeah, so a nice clear shot of your face, a full body shot, like I said, an interesting picture, and then whatever else you want for the other 2. Sunglasses, I wouldn't do more than 1 sunglasses picture. People ask me all the time, should I put pictures with friends to show that I have friends? No one is looking at your profile thinking, man, this person is so good looking, but oh, I wonder if they have any friends. No one's thinking that way. So, I mean, you can crop friends out of your picture, but the last thing you want is to be compared to your friends in your own profile.
Yeah, I know. Probably they'll look at that person and go, great, but who's your friend? So I get
That's
it.
happened to people and it's very disconcerting.
Yeah. I had that with a gentleman one time, a friend of mine. I was looking at his Tinder profile and he had three photos of the same trip. You could tell.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they were all so far away. And I go, why are you so far away? He goes, but the background is great. I go, nobody's looking at
Nobody cares.
the background. And so I zoomed in on, I changed, you know, I took 2 out, swapped 2 in, showed one with his muscles, showed one with his smile. And all of a sudden he got back to me, he goes, he's never had such a high hit rate. So
Exactly.
it's
Exactly. People don't want to see the background. They don't want, all they want, men and women, anyone, all anyone wants is to know who's going to show up on the date. That's it, period. So just just show pictures that are representative of how you're going to look on the date. Someone asked me today, should I get my hair done before I have the pictures? And I said, only if you would look like that on a date. Because you do want to you want to look good, yes, but you don't want to look like so good that you could never replicate that again.
Yeah. But I love that. That's such a simple point to just say, this is who's going to show up. You are who you say you are. Make the interesting part maybe in the text or in the you know the profile, but then also the conversation. You don't have to like tell your whole life story through
No,
this.
you shouldn't.
Yeah, this is great. I didn't even really think of it that way. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, even, I mean, it's kind of like, let's say you were submitting like a headshot for an acting job or something, you know, and they hire you based on the headshot, and then you come in and you've chopped all of your hair off or something. Like you just have to represent who you are. That's it.
Yeah, and be proud of it, right? Like
Exactly. Own it. Don't post old pictures.
yeah.
It's very obvious the minute somebody meets you. Just, I'd rather someone go on fewer dates with people who know who they are today versus trying to sort of like cheat your way into a date.
Yeah, how many dates a week do you recommend people go on without, you know, is it up to each individual without whatever they can handle, I guess, or not getting burnt out?
Yeah. I don't have a set number of dates I recommend per week or per month or anything, only because different people can handle different things. I mean, some are happy going out every night of the week, and some are like, I'm exhausted after one a week. So as long as you know yourself best, I I couldn't tell you.
I love it. That's amazing. All right, so let's talk about the reaching out part. So you were just saying before that you are a fan of either men or women
Oh yeah.
reaching out. And okay, now that we've got our profile set, we've got good photos, we've kind of hooked them. Sorry to use like the marketing term.
Yeah.
We've hooked them, we got the interest, we got the match. Now, how do we guide them through what to say? Or
Good question. So I recommend different lengths of messages for if you're on a site like a Match.com or an eHarmony or something, a little bit of a longer message that would include 3 parts. 1, why the heck you're writing. 2, how it relates to you, and end with a question. So if, for example, you're in an interesting, I don't know, you see someone's profile and it says, well, let's go back to Greece. I don't know why I'm thinking about Greece.
I don't know. I love Greece too. So let's.
I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But you can say like, oh, I noticed you mentioned you just went on a trip to Greece. I went 3 years ago, and my favorite part was the blank, whatever. Where did you have your best meal? I'm making this up, but all you have to do is latch on to one thing and be clear on why, how it relates to you, and end with a question. Now, if you're on the dating apps, Bumble, Tinder, Hinge, you can skip all that stuff and just get to the question if you want, or maybe a little bit about why you care. But like, oh, you went to Greece, so did I. What was your favorite thing? Just the question part is key.
So the question, yeah, because you were saying in your beginning when you ran your numbers, which is great.
Yep.
The question you were saying it gets the most responses.
Well, yeah, because like a lot of people will just write, hey, or what's up, or even how's your day is a bad question because it's just so boring. Like it always ends up with laundry. I don't know why. How's your day? Fine. You? Fine. Good. What are you up to? Nothing. It's such a boring conversation, but if you start instead with a specific question, then you can talk about something.
I guess that you wouldn't really do the same. It's the same approach in a bar, right? You'd walk up to someone and you would go, hey, what are you drinking? Or
yes,
is the burger good? Or
exactly,
live close by? Or what brought you here tonight? Or
correct.
Anything. It's not just
anything.
Hey, and then when a guy does that and they just go, hey, and you're like, hi, and they're like, I'm John. You're like, I'm Andrea,
cool.
And they're like, how are you? Yeah, it's just not as exciting. Like all of a sudden you're like, wow, this isn't any fun. That's hard work.
Exactly. So I would really avoid hi, hey, what's up, how are you, things like that. Now, let's say the person gives you no message bait in the profile and you have no clue what to say. That's a much harder one because they haven't given you anything. You could make up something crazy if you really want to, like, I don't know. How do you take your eggs? I'm making that up. I don't know where that. Maybe I'm hungry. Anyway, or you could say, you could be kind of funny, like your profile's blank. What should I know about you?
That's a good one. I really like that one.
You seem like fun. Am I right?
Ooh.
That works pretty well because who doesn't like to be right?
Yeah, no, exactly. I think I told a girlfriend one time, again, same thing. We created a one-liner that she could start with. And I think this was horrible because she had to reach out first. And I think we did something along the lines of, yeah, like, hey, you seem really fun. Tell me something interesting about you. And then it was just like, let them go. And then all of a sudden one was talking about tennis. And then great, they get on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Exactly. The am I right thing seems to do well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You've run the numbers. I know. I'm not going to question you. So my question as you were talking was, I know a lot of women also make judgments on the texts. They're not long enough. They're not asking a question back. They're doing it at midnight, blah, blah, blah. What is your advice to women who are, I don't know, are they overthinking these texts? Or is it clearly that they don't have conversation?
Yeah, I mean, the midnight example, I wouldn't think twice about that. We all know we're surgically attached to our phones. So, like, I don't think any time maybe not 4 a.m, but
Hey,
but
I'm thinking of you. But then I know a girl was like, well, but he's probably drunk. And it's like, oh my goodness, how many
I
stories?
mean, we could think things day. I mean, you could come up with a good and a bad for any time, right? 8 p.m. You could say, oh, shouldn't you be out with friends? I mean, come on now, who cares? We're all attached to our phones. You could send a text at any time of day, it doesn't matter. As for the he's not asking questions back, yeah, that is a concern because like how interested is that person if or how good are their conversational skills if they're not asking questions back. Um, it's annoying. And rather than just ending the conversation, you can say, is there anything you want to know about me? They better get the hint if you say that. Or I've noticed at a certain point, if the person's not asking questions back, just end it with a like thumbs up or a cool. They'll usually get the point. I mean, there's nothing for you to say.
I love that because I'm always a person where I always like to know, are we moving forward or are we out?
Correct.
And I don't like to
I don't like
I don't like to
I
leave it
don't like
hanging.
not knowing. I don't like to let anything
Yeah.
hang ever. I like closure. My clients all know I like closure. I
Yeah.
make them send closure texts.
Yeah.
I don't no ghosting, none of that. There has
Right.
to be closure on every situation. Does everyone listen to that advice? No, but all I can do is put it out there.
Right. Or I always say, like, don't complain about it not going somewhere or you don't know what's happening if you're not just at least making that reach out to say, like you said, is there anything else you want to know? And then if they don't write back to you, okay, got my answer.
Okay, you're
Moving on.
done. Great.
Done. I love that. Those are such good because it's really hard, I think, for people to just know that text. And if they have that kind of template to follow, it
Mm-hmm.
really just starts getting it moving a little bit. And then, like you
Yeah,
said, gut feel, right? Just gut
exactly.
feel. I want to ask you a question since you were talking about it. You were mentioning Match and eHarmony. Now, you're obviously in amongst the sites still with clients, like the actual
Mm-hmm.
sites, not apps as much, or are you doing both?
Both.
How do they compare? Because I know back in the day it was sites. Now it seems very apps. I know people say, oh, nobody's on the sites anymore. You tell me, are there people on the sites?
Plenty of people are on the
Okay.
sites.
Okay.
I will say though, my client demographic is it's not millennials. I mean, it's a bit older,
Mhm.
so it is skewed in that way. But yeah, I mean, I have most of my clients on the actually a combination of a site and an app. So like a Match.com and a Bumble, for example. Why? Because it's nice to have one paid site where you know people have some skin in, if you're looking for something more
Of
serious,
course. Yeah, which I think
where
we
you
all
know
are
people
here.
have some skin in the game. They've they've put their credit card number in, and there's something to be said for making that investment.
Mm,
And then I like to do an app because, yeah, people are flocking to it. It is more popular these days,
mm.
and you want to go where the people are. So that kind of using a combination gives you a wider breadth of people.
I like it. No, that's good because I mean, I hadn't been on a site for a while, so I just didn't know. And I know since you're in amongst it,
Yeah.
it's good to know. Um, and when you're kind of doing these texts back and forth, whether it's a site, whether it's an app,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
what is the best mind frame for someone to be in the sense of, am I just trying to gauge whether they're interesting enough to go on a date, rather than tell our whole life story? How long do we want to get to the date?
Mm.
What are the kind of like rules of thumb that seem to work quite well for you?
Get to the date sooner rather than later. So, I mean, obviously, if someone says something that makes you not want to go out with that person, fine. But assuming the conversation is going well,
Hmm.
just get to the date because you could analyze things day and night, but until you meet that person face to face, you have no idea if there's any chemistry or anything. So I actually recommend skipping any intermediate steps. So this is interesting. I'm only one of I don't know if anyone else gives this advice, but I recommend scheduling the entire date on the dating site or app and only exchanging numbers for contingencies. So many people will say, "Well, let's switch to text. It's so much easier." Is it really that much easier? I
Same thing.
hate having people in my phone who I've never met before. I think that's weird. So and and I know this is morbid, but I call texting the death of the first date because so often you switch to text, half the time the person doesn't even text when they say they will, but then the rest of the time it always devolves into that boring how are you, how's your day, and there's a lack of urgency or something.
Mm,
So there is such a decline, I would say, when it switches to text, and this is an anecdotal number, so don't quote me on this, even though I'm
sure,
going to say it.
sure.
60% of the time, once you switch to text, the date does not happen anymore. So don't switch. I avoid phone calls, all of that. I would rather you just meet, if possible. Now, I realize sometimes you're not in the same location, or a custody thing, or okay, if you have to talk on the phone, that's fine. But in general, I recommend just meeting.
So when you say switch to text, you mean move it from the site or the app to your actual phone?
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
I
Okay.
don't recommend doing that. I
Yeah.
recommend only exchanging numbers a day or so before and using these words. In case you need to reach me tomorrow, here's my number. That way it's not, I am inviting you to text me all hours of the day.
Let me tell you straight up what I mean.
Well, you're saying it nicely. In case you need, it's very clear
Yeah,
from that.
yeah.
Like, don't text me right now and say, what's up, babe?
Right. Right. And I know there's so many times where, again, it moves to text and then all of a sudden they send one text
Oh,
and say, what's up, babe? And then all of a sudden the girl's offended because I don't even know you yet. And then the date never happens.
correct.
So I agree with you. It's almost like you meet, you're both single. If you have a good initial kind of chat, right? Like,
Hmm.
I don't know, 10 exchanges each, something like that.
I mean, I don't have any rules about that. Just like,
Yeah, but just keep it on one topic. You're interesting enough. You seem cool. And then you're
yeah.
saying, let's just get on a date. Now, what about women? I know potentially women might go, well, I want him to ask me out. So what do you suggest there?
I'm not going to lie, that is the preference.
Okay.
But for every woman who wants to be asked out quickly, there's another woman who wants to talk ad nauseum before being asked out. And I will say, not, I don't want to defend men who aren't going to, I don't know, who aren't on the ball, but I will say a lot of men are confused these days and they
Mhm.
don't know what you want. And so if they're not asking you out in a timely fashion and you want to be, don't assume it's because he doesn't want to see you. Do assume it's because he has no idea what he's doing and he doesn't know when it's appropriate to ask you out. So, a few little tricks you can use to get him to ask you out without actually asking him out are, that's a great question. Much better story in person. Ta-da! You better take that bait.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Should we get to know each other in person? Or really anything like that. It's sort of a passive way of saying, all right, come on, I'm ready to meet.
I love that. I think that's perfect because it almost takes away that I'm asking you, but I'm gently hinting slash nudging you.
Exactly.
I'm giving
Exactly.
I'm giving you the open door, Mr.
Hmm.
Man.
And if they don't take it, then all right, you've tried.
Yeah, and I agree on this summit. We've spoken to a bunch of coaches as well who there is still that desire there that the men want to chase and the women want to be chased. So yes, well,
I gotta tell you, men like to be asked out too. I mean, they're tired. It's not the I get it.
yeah,
Look, it's not the preference. We like,
right,
as women, we like to feel pursued and
right.
special and all of that. Well, men do too. So it's like, I don't know. The world is weird these days.
No, I agree with you. I agree. The confusion of men is real, and that's
Well,
why.
yeah, because
Yeah.
for every woman, I mean, forget online for a sec, even as far as chivalry is concerned, for every woman who loves a door opened for her, you have a woman who says, I am woman, hear me roar, I can do it myself. And
Mhm.
so the less confident men are, the confident men will do what they want regardless, but the less confident men are now scared to approach or now scared to do the thing they've been taught to do because one person didn't like it and now they're confused. So
Mm.
just like, I know we all want what we want, but just like have a little special place just in case.
Yeah, it almost sounds like I always say, just be a bit gentle with each other in the beginning. Give each other the benefit of the
Well,
doubt.
yeah, and if you want something, ask for it or say, I really like when you do that.
Mm.
Because nobody's a mind reader, gosh. So, I mean, it's funny. Someone I dated in the past asked me, "Do you like the car door opened for you?" And I said, "I love it. Who wouldn't?" And he's like, "My last girlfriend didn't." So, So there you go.
We can all make stories of, oh, he's not a gentleman and all this stuff, but just, I love it. Say what you want, put out the interest
Yeah.
there.
Now I will say, like, in terms of payment on the first date, I do recommend to all of my male clients to pay. I also recommend to all of my female clients to make the offer. Do you want him to take you up on it? No, I'm not going to lie. But if you do offer, you have to be ready to pay if he takes you up on that. Again, would I be like a little annoyed if somebody took me up on it? Yeah. But on the other hand, again, some men love the offer. Some are offended by the offer. Some feel emasculated. Some feel like, wow, that's so nice. We just have no idea. So all you can do is be kind and offer a genuine thank you if he does pay.
And of course, there's so many things we can latch onto or identify as a problem early on.
Sure.
You know, but at the same time, if things are going pretty well, you have a good time, you have good conversation, it's probably not a bad idea to maybe, do you recommend a lot of clients sometimes give it a second?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not sure, can't hurt to try again.
Right.
If you're interested in having one more conversation with the person, might as well go out again. A lot of people put so much pressure on themselves to try to make this like grand decision after a first date. Like, I don't see it going well in the future. The future? We just had one date, right? So, you know, like just give it a shot. Stop trying to jump 10 steps ahead. For my clients who get too much in their head about the future stuff, I tell them to pretend the world is ending the night of the date. And so all they have is that. So that's it. Just stop thinking ahead.
I love it.
Does that work? I don't know. But
you know, any little tips and tricks, like you said, to help just not overthink and take the pressure off. Because again, you just want to, like you said, there's so many times that people go on a date and they might have been nervous, or they might have had a hard day at work and they just weren't maybe bringing their best self, or they said something wrong, or I don't know. It's like, I get that it's, you know, it's hard, you know, it's hard to make a second first impression, but at the same time, I think we can all realize that we are just going through this everyday thing called life, and someone you kind of meet with along the way, you know, hopefully you have a good time. If you don't, if you see each other again, either way, you're still going out and having fun and doing things. It's better than sitting.
Exactly. And I know a lot of people put the pressure on themselves. Like, each date feels so monumental. And remember, it's just a date. It's just a conversation. If you end up having a decent conversation, I consider that a good date, even if it's not going anywhere, because you can't set yourself up. Like I always say, because it's frustrating for me as a coach when a client thinks everything short of their person is a failure. That's just not, nobody can hold themselves to that standard, because nobody knows. Like, I see it as a success if you go on a few good dates and then you take it from there, right? But I mean, I've had people say after like long relationships, like, oh, it didn't work, it was a failure. No, it wasn't. You had a nice relationship. So just remember, like, take it back a step. It's just a date. We can't predict the future. So just see what happens.
And I'm sure, yeah, as you were saying that, do you see a lot of people go on that one date and because maybe there wasn't a spark, or we had
all the time,
but I didn't feel this way, and then they probably just throw it by the wayside. What's your advice to them there?
Yeah, a spark. Look, sometimes you're going to have it, sometimes you're not, but that doesn't mean there's no potential if you don't want to jump into bed with someone on the first date. In fact, it's usually those people who we get so, you know, clouded by because we have our rose-colored glasses on because we're so attracted to them. Yeah. We haven't even noticed all the other stuff. So again, if you want to have one more conversation, do it. Yeah. I was just on the phone with a client earlier today, and she's been on 3 dates with someone, and she's like, yeah, he's not for me. And I pushed her. Why? She goes, well, I can't picture bringing him to a work function. And I said, tell me more, you know? And she's like, well, I said, would you feel embarrassed for him? Well, no. I'd be worried that he wouldn't feel comfortable. And I said, well, that sounds like a you thing, not a him thing. And I said, how about instead, like, how do you feel on your dates? Does he make you feel special, sexy? Well, yeah. I said, okay, I'm not hearing a problem. So it's just, I don't know. I want us, even if you're looking for long term, I want you to kind of, I don't know if this is going to sound as eloquent as it does in my head, but I want you to kind of go on dates like short term. This is not coming out how I want it to, but I don't want you thinking too long term at the beginning.
That's a good point. Don't think too far ahead. Just take it one by one. And if you, I mean, I think I did that with my now fiance, was that I just kind of went, I'm just having fun and I'm having a great time. And I wasn't thinking too far ahead. And then all of a sudden I look back, I went, wow, we've been hanging out for like 6 months.
Yeah.
And then even like at the same time, I was like, wow, we've been together 4 years like that. And we're okay. Like we still actually want to go to sleep with each other at night. Like that's actually a really nice thing.
I think that's great. I mean, so many people get so bogged down by like, I have to know the important things on the first date. But really, you just want to know if you have rapport, because the important things aren't going to be relevant if you don't have rapport. And if you do have rapport with someone, you're probably going to be more accepting of things later. So, like, I got people asking about future plans on the first, and it's like, oh my God, like, cool it. Let's see if you even like to eat the same foods.
I love it. Yeah. Why do you think we put so much like you said, like pressure on it? Just about, I need to know all this information. I need to know everything right away. I think we just want to make a quick decision, but
I think so too, because people are very into like, I don't want to waste my time. I don't see any dates as a waste of time. You can't, I mean, I don't know. It's just human nature, I think, to put that kind of pressure on yourself.
Yeah. And I think when you were saying before, yeah, we can look at let's not forget those 5 other great things that are going really well, but we focus on this one thing where maybe he doesn't want to go to a work function. Maybe.
I know.
Sure, but
it's so weird.
So it's almost like, it sounds like, if we can all just continue to try to make a forced shift, and I'll say forced, that's probably not the right word, but a conscious shift to just looking at what is there and what you are getting versus what you're not.
Yes. And that's true too with on the online dating sites before you've even gotten to the date. I have so many people. Okay, so I have this 80-year-old male client. He's lovely. He's just a wonderful man. But anyway, so he calls me the other day. He's like, dating's not going so well. And I'm like, tell me more. Honestly, this guy is killing it online. He goes on more dates than any of my clients. Women are knocking down doors to go. Anyway, so, and I'm like, tell me more. Why aren't they going well? Because it seems to me like you had 5 dates in the last week with all quality women. And he's like, oh, well, none are the right caliber. And I said, okay, tell me, and we got into it. And he goes, but I do have a second date with someone this week who seems pretty promising. And I said, so why did you call me and say it's not going well when you have something great with potential? It's like people, and even online, people notice the people who don't write back versus, it's like they discount the people who do. Well, how about focus on the ones who like you and want you versus the ones who don't?
I think it probably just comes back to when you say that, I think, again, it's why we choose the wrong men. It's why we like the ones that don't like us versus the people that like us. It's just, ask yourself, do I feel worthy of this love?
Yeah, I mean, that gets into a way bigger thing than we're going to talk about.
Oh, for sure.
But absolutely. Anyway, luckily, his second date went great.
Yay! What a great coach you are. He's so lucky to have you.
With Fran.
I love that her name is Fran. That's
I love that too.
Okay, if the 80-year-olds can do it, we can do it,
Right? Exactly.
Inspiration for the day. So you also have your podcast and it says, So We Met Online. So are you listening to success stories, or how does that work? Like, are you able to just see how people are having like just tons of success online, or?
It's more of a humor podcast than anything else. So I wouldn't say we overdo it on successful stories because we like funny stories for the podcast purposes. Yeah. So I have a co-host, Chris, and he and I either share a story from our own past dating experiences or we have guests. Usually each story is off the wall in some way. Yeah. And then he and I analyze it and give advice. And so no, it's not about success necessarily. It's more for humor's sake. I mean, he's got he's got some crazy, like, I'll just say we named one of his dates Crazy Cupcake Lady for a reason. So we go more towards the humor, but then we do give actual advice.
Yeah. But what you are saying, because you are out in the online dating world a lot, is there is a lot of success out there. Is that right?
Absolutely. Like, it doesn't, like, online dating is just a tool for
Mm-hmm.
meeting people,
Mm-hmm.
just as any other thing could be a tool. So it's basically, it doesn't matter what tool you use to meet the person as long as you're meeting the person. So so of course it can be successful. I mean, as long as you're meeting people, then you're giving yourself the opportunity. So yeah. And remember, no one person represents an entire gender, website, anything like that. I mean, I was talking to someone yesterday who was like, oh my God, someone from Match.com stalked me, so I quit Match.com. And I said, why did you give him the power? He doesn't represent Match. He was a creeper. You know, for every, now you've prevented yourself from meeting anyone wonderful on there. So just remember that no one represents everyone.
That's amazing advice. It's like, give yourself more credit for deciphering the creepers. And like you said, don't let them push you away from what you need to do, and look after yourself and go get your Mr. Right.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, this has been so informative. Thank you so much. I could do this all day long, as we know we do it.
I know. I love talking. I mean, obviously it's my job, but I love talking about it.
This is the thing. We could talk the whole day. So please let everyone know how they can learn more about you, reach out to you, stay in touch. You also have a gift for them, because I love what you do, and you offer, obviously the online space is quite hard, and clearly you're quite qualified, but you do offer different packages. So tell them a little bit more about how they can learn more from you.
Sure. So my website is alittle.nudge.com. And on there, if you'd like, I offer a free consultation. So you can just click on the button and put a time on my calendar where we'll talk. And if you mention that you watched this interview, in addition to getting to know a little about you on the consultation and explaining what I do, I'd be happy to review. If you have a current profile, I'd be happy to review that and give you some initial thoughts, which is not something I generally do on the free consultation. So I'm happy to do that. And yeah, just any social media, a little nudge. My Instagram is hilarious. I'm saying that self-proclaimed, but it shows bad dating messages people get. And so don't think that's representative, but it certainly is funny sometimes. Yeah. So people seem to enjoy that.
Sometimes we need a little humor, but thank you so much for your gift. I mean, oh my gosh, to be able to review your profile is like a game changer. That's like having a copywriter for your right now. And it's kind of important, and it's really exciting, but sometimes it's hard. Like we've always said, this is why it's good to have a coach, because it's good to have someone else, help you from the outside. I mean, I remember sitting down with another client as well, just again, changing the words. What do you find interesting? Tell me about you. Wrote her profile, and it was a game changer, but it was hard for her to do it for herself. I get it.
Well, it's so true. It's really hard to edit your own work or edit something about yourself. You're too close to it. And it's nice to have somebody on your team. I mean, who doesn't like someone even I write every day. I mean, I have someone who works for me. I have her read for typos even, because again, when you're so close to it, it's hard to see things objectively.
Yeah. Very good point. Your Instagram is hilarious. Worth checking.
It's hilarious. I know.
Gotta have some humor. But I do love another thing on your site where it does say, don't rush something you want to last forever. So I do love, I'd love to finalize on that beautiful note. Thank you for all that information. That was incredible.
I'm so glad.
Super, super helpful. And again, thank you for that wonderful gift. That's so kind. And here's to spreading the love.
Yay.
Now you've heard it all. You understand it's got to come from you. We've given you the tools now to get there online. Obviously, offline is there at your disposal any day, and just go out into the world with this beautiful, confident self. But again, nothing wrong with having a coach. Nothing wrong with having someone help you with your profile. It's so necessary. I've been to coaches. I've been to therapists. I've read books. I've had to do it all too. So no shame in that. It's a beautiful thing, and it will get you there. And we're going to do it this year. This is the goal. So thank you, Erika.
Thank you for having me.
pleasure, and we will talk soon.
Okay.
Bye.